So obviously the Indiana Fever are kind of have to hit on their draft pick this year because they don't really have the cap space to go and trade that draft pick, and they can't really trade a pick because they can't really trade it for anybody unless they want to get a restricted free agents or are just, you know what, like screw it, we're going to draft into the future, or we're going to go and take a stash like a Nell Angloma or a Yana Martin. But if they're going to use the pick, in my opinion, I think the perfect player, it is Raven Johnson. Like, everyone's being like, oh, Raven Johnson can't shoot. She's shooting 50, 40, 90 on the season. I repeat, she is currently shooting 50, 40, 90, or sorry, she's currently shooting 50, 39.5, and 85. 50, 40, 85 on the season. It may as well be 50, 40, 90. I mean this. It might as well be 50, 40, 90. She's doing it while South Carolina are one of the best teams in the nation still. They are number 3 ranked team in the nation. They did lose to Texas, who are number 2 ranked team in the nation. But like, Raven Johnson is now stepping up because Tania Latson's gone. The last 2 games, 17 and 17. And Florida aren't bad. Neither are Alabama. Neither of these teams are bad. 17-17. Again, not great in terms of the assist to turnover today. Not really care. Don't really care that much. She's had one poor game, one good game shooting wise, but I don't care. She's stepping up and willing to shoot the ball. And second of all, the Fever don't need a scorer. This is one of those crazy things where I'm like, everybody's talking about, oh, you know, she doesn't score well enough. The Fever need this, and this. It's like the Fever don't need a scorer. And the problem is that everyone else Fever wants, like, is Gianna Kneepkens going to be a decent WNBA player? Yeah, Gianna Kneepkens has a slow release, doesn't play very good defense, is a super senior as well, and is just okay. Like, we can be completely real here. Like, Gianna Kneepkens is just okay. Everybody talking about Gianna Kneepkens as this, like, sure thing. Like, she is shooting, in fairness, she's shooting 46% from 3. But, like, she hits wide open jump shots. The question is, would we have taken Gianna Kneepkens last year? In fairness, you could say the same thing about Raven Johnson if she can go back for super senior season with a number 8 pick. We wouldn't even consider this with an 8 pick last year. Like, she's not playing any better than she did at Utah. She's just playing in front of a bigger audience. Whereas Raven Johnson, worst case scenario is going to be one of the best defenders in the WNBA from the day she sets foot in it. That is, even her lowest outcome, she is still going to be one of the best perimeter defenders from the day she sets foot in the league. And what does the Fever need more than anything? And if you say anything other than perimeter defense, you are wrong. The Fever don't have a good perimeter defender. Sorry, they don't have a stopper. I'm not going to consider Lexi Hull a bad perimeter defender because she's not. But what Lexi Hull can't do is she doesn't have the foot speed to stay in front of the fast guards. Like, you saw Lexi Hull. Lexi Hull would guard the Ryan Howards of the world. She would guard the wings. But what Lexi Hull can't do is guard point guards because she's not quick enough for it. We saw, in fairness, we actually did see, up until she got that steal at the end of game 2 in the Atlanta Dream series, she got cooked by Ryan Howard running around her. Like, it's not necessarily that Lexi Hull is a bad defender for Ryan. She was the best defender that the Fever had. She was the best defender the Fever had to guard her. But when you've got quicker wings, like we've seen Kat Copper. We have seen Kat Copper literally anytime you put Lexi Hull on Kat Copper is like, yeah, easy buckets today. Like, just because of the type of defender Lexi Hull is. And it's like, you're cool having like Lexi Hull's a player needed on the team. Like, the Fever can't not keep Lexi Hull. And I'm much more adamant on that one than I was last year. I didn't know if it was just a hot streak or what, because obviously last year, Lexi Hull up to that point had only had a half a season of good playing in her career, but or in her pro career anyway. That being said, it's one of those things now where the team does need that perimeter defender, and that perimeter defender is Raven Johnson. She's the best perimeter defender in this draft by a long shot. You can find shooting in free agency. You're not going to find someone as good as what Raven Johnson does in free agency. You're just not. For the money you're not. Like, you're not going to be able to find a set it up point guard who is going to who can play with Caitlin Clark. Like, do you not understand how difficult it is to find a point guard that will play well with Caitlin Clark? Like, people don't realize that. Like, Ari McDonald If anyone says we have Ari, did we not remember how garbage Ari McDonald and Caitlin Clark looked together when it was Ari at the 1 and Caitlin at the 2? Do we not remember how absolutely garbage Caitlin Clark looked? And you might be saying, oh, but Caitlin's going to play the 1 the whole time. Ari can play the 2. And it's like, but that's not the point. The point of a backup point guard is to allow Caitlin Clark to play off the ball. We already have backups for Kelsey Mitchell. We already have backups for Kelsey Mitchell. So it's finding that true backup point guard. And it's a certain mold of player that is hard to find. If you can get Julie Allemond, cool, draft somebody else. Draft a shooter. But you can find shooters everywhere. We already fucked up by giving Katie Lou Samuelson a max contract. And then giving her away for nothing. But you're not... It's one of those things where you can't. You genuinely can't... there's no other outside, a point guard that can play with Caitlin Clark and be productive, and also be productive when Caitlin Clark is off the floor, is extremely rare. It is extremely rare. It is extremely rare to find a connective piece point guard in the Mario Chalmers role for LeBron James. That is so hard to find. In the what Rajon Rondo became in 2020. For a player like a Caitlin Clark, who has a bit of off-ball ability, it is so difficult to find that point guard connective piece. Kate Martin. Fever aren't going to get Kate Martin. Is an option. Not as similar level to Raven Johnson. But Kate Martin, we're not going to get her. Grace Berger had her, got rid of her. Has not shot the ball well enough to justify bringing her back. Julie Allemond would be perfect. Julie Allemond the Sparks are going to keep Julie Allemond at all costs. The Sparks are willing to will likely be willing to let Azare Stevens walk to keep Julie Allemond. She is that much of a unicorn. These types of players don't really exist. And they are, if you look, Kiki Rice, for me, is the player that if she drops to 10, you can debate. You can debate at that backup point guard over Raven Johnson. You can debate Ledger Walker. I think of those three, Kiki Rice has the highest potential, but I also think she's going to be gone by 10. Ledger Walker might be the best of these players, but of the three of them, the one skill that Raven Johnson has one skill that she already will do at an elite level from the second she sets foot in the league. And that's the thing with in the defensive South Carolina guards. They are very good as role players. South Carolina guards, I'm sorry, Ty Harris, Tahina Pau, even to an extent Zaya Cook. South Carolina guards can be role players. Nobody has ever said that Dawn Staley does not develop role players. It's just Raven Johnson was the number 2. Was she the number 2 recruit in the nation? ESPN Women's 100 2021. Yeah, she was the number 2 recruit in the nation. And then Sanaya Rivers, who became a little bit more than a role player plus, left her. So yes, Dawn Staley absolutely develops role player guards. And whatever you want to think about this, the Fever need a role player guard. The Fever need a role player guard. It's as simple as that. The Fever need a role player guard. And in my opinion, Raven Johnson is as good as you're going to get in either in free agency or in the draft that you can afford. Players that are also mocked at Fever, Gianna Neepkins. Okay, if Johnson's gone, or we actually hit a really good backup point guard in free agency, and not a fucking Sydney Colson. I love Sydney Colson, but I'm sorry. Hire her as an assistant coach. Pay her what you would have paid her in salary as an assistant coach. Don't need Sydney Colson, the player. Erica Wheeler did not fit. We saw what Erica Wheeler can do. It is a specific type of player that is going to be able to play backup for Caitlin Clark. And if you just pick a random player, I'm telling you this right now, Odyssey Sims will not be able to play with Caitlin Clark. Ari McDonald will not be able to play with Caitlin Clark, as we've seen Ari McDonald being unable to play with Caitlin Clark. It is a very specific type of player. If the goal for the Fever is to move on with Caitlin Clark, they need to build a team and build players that will fit beside Caitlin Clark, and that's what Raven Johnson is. If the goal for the Indiana Fever is to build the best team possible without Caitlin Clark, you don't even consider Raven Johnson. You don't even consider Raven Johnson. if that's the case. However, I'm working on the assumption that the Indiana Fever are building around Caitlin Clark. If you're building around Kelsey Mitchell, trade Caitlin Clark. Simple as that. If you're building around Kelsey Mitchell's strengths, go trade Caitlin Clark, because we saw a near zero drop off for Kelsey Mitchell. Like with Odyssey Sims. But anyway, see you guys.